Hello and welcome back. We'll be having some fun with Frit today here on the Jasa channel. I'll be experimenting with some color combinations today using Frit. First, I need to flare my blow tube in order to connect up to my tubing. And now this is 26 millimeter scalloped tubing. It's sort of new to the borosilicate market, at least as far as I'm aware. I picked some up last year, but I never got around to using it until now. So I flame cut my tubing down to make a smaller blank. I'm going to hot seal up another blow tube. So I'm going to make sure both sides are very, very hot and connect them in the flame. And I want to keep rotating while I hold both pieces centered, very on axis. And I'll flame cut another section off. And I'll puff into it just a little bit to help even out the end. And now Frit is crushed or ground glass. It's used in decorative applications. You can apply it to the inside or the outside of your work. Today I'll be putting it on the inside of this scallop tubing. And so this is going to be a bit of an experiment today. I don't work with Frit normally, and as I said before, this is my first attempt with the scalloped tubing. But that's a lot of what this channel is about. Experimenting and learning new things. Trying to push yourself forward to see what can be accomplished. And so to accomplish this project, I need to heat up the tubing to a very molten state, a lot of core heat, in order for the Frit to melt into the inside wall. It's very important to get the Frit fully melted in, or it could lead to cracks. And so for this cobalt blue, I was heating up small sections to create blue bands with the cobalt. And then I put some triple passion Frit in the tubing, the yellow Frit, and I'm filling in the gaps between those bands. And now I'm pulling off some clear glass to bring the color all the way to the end of the tube. And then I'll start putting a wide heat into the glass to give it a lot of core heat. Give it a few seconds to radiate and start puffing into it. I'm going to heat it back down and puff into it again. You don't have to puff it all out in one go. You can do it in little steps. This is not only helping melt in the Frit a little more, but helping the walls stay more consistent. I'm going to heat it up one more time, focusing a little bit more on the end, and then give it one little puff to finish it up. You might have noticed my glass key necklace. That was from the last episode, Skeleton Keys. That was a fun little project, and I think it looks pretty good as a necklace. It has a little bit of style, but still a bit subtle too. And now this one got a little bit off center, but that's okay because I'm going to punty up to it and twist it up quite a bit. I've noticed you get a little bit of a different effect with this scallop tubing. It has lines all the way down the inside of the tubing. So as the Frit is melting in, you get a very specific line pattern of the first Frit you put in. And so if you're looking for a quick way to add some lines to your work, this might be a good option. Or maybe just practice some other techniques like the wig-wag. I did a video, the wig-wag plumb bob. A plumb bob is a sort of leveling device that allows you to align an object vertically. And so with the wig-wag technique, making wavy lines, it's sort of ironic to use it as a plumb bob. And so I'm using a second color for all of these. I'm going for a kind of two-toned look. And that's just something you have to experiment with, kind of see what looks good, and gives you the kind of pattern you're looking for. The silver striking colors are also something you have to test out. Depending on how or when you apply it, you might end up with different results. Like if I apply the striking colors first and then lay another color over it, then it will be protected from the atmosphere and it might not strike at all. But then you can go for that kind of effect if you want two colors out of one striking glass. They make clear frit also, so you can apply that over your striking color to protect it. You can also apply your frit to the outside of the glass. You have to be a little bit careful about the more sensitive colors like the cadmiums. In that crushed up state, they're much more likely to overheat in the flame and start boiling. But overall, you do need to be extra cautious when working with frit. You definitely do not want to inhale it and get it into your lungs. And that's why I recommend to stick with a medium or larger frit size, especially if you're new to it. It does depend on the company you're buying it from, but medium is about something the size of a coarser salt or a larger grain sugar, while small is more similar to fine table salt. They even make powdered glass, which I'm assuming is close to flour, but I've never worked with it. So with those smaller sized frits, you may have to be a little more careful, more cautious not to inhale it. However, it might give you a greater range and detail having those smaller grains. The larger, coarser frits are going to be a little heavier, so they might be a little safer. But I don't think they have as high versatility. They melt in very large globs of color, and so you can't put in as much detail. But it's good to keep in mind that even that large frit may have glass dust clinging to it by static electricity. When I was doing the hourglass video, I was very surprised when I was filling up the hourglass with different frits. There was just a plume of glass dust flying up in the air as I was dumping in the frit. And so I'm certain the dust is getting attracted to it during the filtering process when they're shaking the frit through the metal trays. That could be enough to create a static charge to collect the dust in the air. And so for someone new getting into lampworking, I would probably hold off the frit for a little while and focus mainly on clear glass to get a feel for how it likes to melt and move. But then mess around with a little bit of color too, because that's really a bit of the fun part. Just kind of dots and lines, little accents. I probably wouldn't do full color pieces, as good color gets kind of expensive. But as you do get more into lampworking and learn more frit techniques, it is actually a pretty quick and effective way to add a lot of color to your pieces. And so I'll finish up the last globe, get it in the kiln, and we'll check them out. And here they are. We have red with purple luster, shamrock green with a cobalt blue, orange crayon behind some dragon's eye. I believe this was triple passion with some purple luster. And finally some cobalt blue with, I believe, a bit of dragon's eye and Andromeda. And so we've reached the end of this episode. I hope you've enjoyed it. If so, make sure to hit the like button and don't forget to share and subscribe. And as always, stay melty.